And now for the starting lineups. For the Patriots, at guard, 5'9" senior, Rod Reed. For the Pioneers, at guard, 5'10" junior, Micah Baines. And for the Patriots, at guard, a 6' sophomore, Josh Green. And for the Pioneers, at guard, 6'3" junior, Josh Conover. And for the Patriots, at guard, a 5'9" sophomore, Rafael Garcia. And for the Pioneers, at forward, a 6'5" junior, Anthony Lewis. And for the Patriots, at forward, a 6'2" junior, Jeremiah Ford. And for the Pioneers, at forward, a 6'5" sophomore, Kyle Gardner. For the Patriots, at center, a 6'7" sophomore, Hugo Rodriguez. And for the Pioneers, at center, a 6'6" junior, Brandon Gershman. The Patriots are coached by Mr. Cliff McDaniel. The Pioneers are coached by Mr. Pete Weary. Let's play ball.
And we start the most important day of the national tournament for these teams, and Arlington Baptist has played 2 of those in a row, having to play into this 8-team bracket with a victory on Tuesday. They beat Grace University 81-64. And for the number 2 seed in the national tournament, Northland International University out of Dunbar, Wisconsin, 19-8 as Rick mentioned, and Arlington Baptist got the feel of what it's like to play in the national tournament. They've only been in the NCCAA for a couple of years and restarted their program about 4 years ago. Cliff McDaniel in his 4th year as the head coach, and already has their team in the national tournament as we get the toss of the basketball to start it. And Arlington Baptist dressed today in the blue uniforms, the navy with red trim, and the Pioneers from Northland International dressed in white with green numbers and trim. Garcia, he'll be defended by Josh Conover. Josh Green, he was able to get to the basket quite easily the other day, but right now Arlington has had to play it a little slower, and Green will jump shoot. He'll knock it down, however, and it is a 2-0 Arlington Baptist lead. Micah Baines averages 15.8 a game. He's a 5'10 junior out of Wilson, North Carolina. There's a 3-ball out of the corner that's good, knocked down by Baines.
So we said, Rob, a Division II transfer, played 2 years at Presbyterian College. Big pickup for Pete Weary.
3-ball missed by Josh Green. Pioneers in transition, but not at the breakneck pace that we've seen, and Green takes the ball away from Baines and will hit the layup. Micah Baines and Anthony Lewis, both from Wilson, North Carolina. I had the privilege of doing some baseball there back a day or 2 ago. More like 20, 25 years. Interesting place. Nice, quaint little town. They'll get the ball into the block to Anthony Lewis. He's the other half of that tandem from Wilson, North Carolina. Conover missed a 3, and in the scramble, Hugo Rodriguez gets on the back one of the Pioneers and will pick up his first. Rodriguez had 10 points and 18 boards in the win over Grace University, but he's now looking a couple of different post players eyeball to eyeball as opposed to looking down at them like he did on Tuesday. Lewis will get the ball inbounds. And Northland International, the number 2 seed in the tournament behind Ohio Christian. They'll get a screen from Gardner, but Conover will go the other way and lay it off the glass and in.
Josh Conover, 2nd-team All-American this year, and 2.5 steals per game, number 3 in the nation to go with his 12.8 points.
With the basketball outside is one of the big men, Ford. He'll get it into Rodriguez, who will spin into the lane and then kick it out to Rod Reed. Reed will get a screen from the big guy on the roll to the basket. He'll have the ball stripped away from him as he was going up, and the ball will stay with Arlington Baptist.
It's a nice find by Rod Reed. Rodriguez couldn't finish, but just to get it in there was monumental.
Rodriguez will get it outside. The shot clock is under 10. They're down to 5 seconds, and Reed's going to have to crank up a deep three. He'll get a little space and hit nothing but the bottom of the net. 7-5. Arlington Baptist on top, and while they preferred to play a quicker pace the other day, they seem just as comfortable in the half court, and we're going to get a whistle, and a foul is going to be called on Jeremiah Ford, and that will be his first. And the big man for Northland was trying to turn and go for the pass, which was clearly over his head, and Ford was there, and he gave a little chuck with the forearms as opposed to just letting him have contact. Gardner will find Baines. Baines penetrates into the lane and dumps it low, but it'll come back out to Lewis, who will crank one up from the arc. No good, and the rebound belongs to Brandon Gresham, a 6'6 junior. They start 6'6", 6'5", and 6'5 on the front line. There's a three ball fired up and in by Baines, his second three. He has 6, and it's 8-7 Northland.
You look at this other side of the floor here, the offensive end for Arlington. Almost looked like Pete Weary has played a step or two off. They were almost afraid of the penetration, and it's been Green and Reed that have shown the ability to hit jumpers here early.
3.5 minutes in, Garcia will fire one from the top of the key, and it's an air ball and will go out of bounds. And, you know, it's almost like, well, it's a little bit different in the days that you played, because most good teams had a 6'3", 6'4 player on the inside, and if you don't go 6'5", 6'6", something's wrong.
Right.
Three ball, missed, no good, and the rebound off to Josh Green. He's quick up floor, but Northland back well defensively. You take both of these teams today, Rodriguez at 6'7", and Ford listed at 6'2", as he travels with the basketball, but if he's 6'2", and he might be pushing 6'3", but he's a middle linebacker type 6'3".
Yes.
He's big, strong, and sturdy and can jump.
Absolutely.
Whereas you played post at what, 5'9", 5'10"?
I was listed at 6 feet, Rob, but just don't get the tape out to measure that.
There's a turnover, and Green the other way with the hoop, and he was fouled.
Basketball, Josh Green.
Josh Green has 6 and will be shooting 7. And the first Northland foul is called on Brandon Gresham. And you're seeing teams like Northland who have some 6'5", 6'6 guys that aren't out there right now. 3-point play, 7 for Josh Green. Reed has the other 3, and it's a 10-8 game. Gardner will catch way out of the floor. Rodriguez will close the gap, and then Gardner will get right by him and pitch it outside for a wide open 3 that is good by Baines.
Big guy did a great job there. He set up the shooter. Usually it's the other way around, and was under control. Arlington tried to draw a charge, and Gardner slowed on the brakes, avoided that defender, and kicked it nicely to the baseline.
And they were about to get that infamous moving screen out front, and Gardner was able to get out of the way and avoid it and set all that up. 11-10. Garcia rolls one in. It rattled up and in and looked like it might roll out. Rafael Garcia with a three-pointer. He had 9 points and was 3 of 10 from the floor in their win on Tuesday. Gardner pulls up before charging into Ford. Conover on the baseline will whip it underneath, and the ball taken away from Gresham and knocked out of bounds by Josh Green. 14:42 remaining here in the first half. 11-10. Northland International University with the lead. They have the ball. Lewis. Yes, that was a step in front of the arc. And Anthony Lewis with his first 2. 6'5" guy on this level who can play outside and shoot it.
Dangerous. 2-year JUCO player in his first year at Northland.
Reed will give it to Ford, who will bounce it low to Rodriguez. They'll double down on him, and he'll turn and hook one from the baseline and shoot an air ball. It's picked up by Baines. Baines will get it ahead to Conover, who almost went up and walked with the ball, but pulled it back down in time to get it over to Lewis, who will step back and shoot over Green. It's an air ball as Gardner knocks it out of bounds. We will see into the lineup Jordan Harrison, who is a 6'3" sophomore, and Gresham will grab a seat. Harrison, a sophomore out of Indianapolis, Indiana. We've got guys from all over going to Wisconsin. Some guys from Indiana, North Carolina.
Pete Weary deserves Coach of the Year just for that.
Got a guy from San Francisco. Ford will step back. He'll pitch it outside to Garcia, who strokes home a three. He hits his second trio of the game. 16-13, Arlington Baptist on top. Speaking of the three ball, we saw a bit of a show last night in the late game, didn't we?
Wow.
There's a floater down to the baseline by Gardner, a jump hook. That was too hard.
What'd they finish with last night, Rob? How many as a team?
I had 19 at the half.
He finished with 625 for the season. Second college team in the history of college basketball to make more than 600. So pretty good year for Multnomah.
I want to say they hit 29 of 56 from the three-point line.
I thought they shot in the 80s on threes. I thought they had
$80s.
Notes.
They had over 100 shots. Maybe they did. I'm trying to remember. I forgot it was at halftime.
31 of 82 for 38%. 82 attempts.
They had over 100 shots last night. And they had a few turnovers, too, so they had well over 115 possessions. Lewis down to the baseline has his pocket picked by Ford. 3-point lead in the ball for Arlington Baptist. Reed, three ball, off no good. And the rebound to Lewis. Kind of a flat-footed rebound after the others had contested for it. CBC playing their final game ever, scored 106, 53 in each half.
Joey Kruder didn't have a bad way to end, did he?
What did he have, 35?
35, and a pretty good shooting percentage, too, 15 of 24.
Basketball, Michael Baines.
Baines with his two-point shot, just his first two-point basket of the game. He has 11, including 3 first-half threes. 16-15. Ford can't operate, and he's been kind of quiet, but he started off quiet on Tuesday as well and finished strong with a good second half. 15 to shoot. Reed will find Ford head of the circle. Over to Josh Green. One thing Northland has taken away until now was that, and that was the drive to the basket. The foul is going to be called on Lewis, and that will be his first. In the days, and I know you remember this, of the 8-team bracket, this was always the most important and the most intense day of the tournament, isn't it?
Absolutely. You've got 8 teams. The teams that lost Tuesday are basically heading home right now. They're on buses, so there are 8 teams left in this field, and every one of them still alive. This is the only day, I guess Tuesday that's still true, but tomorrow you'll have 2 games with teams that are just playing to play the weekend. So, yes, a lot of energy today.
Green has 9 with a pair of throws, and it's back to a 3-point game. 18-15, the number 7 seed from Arlington, Texas, leading the number 2 seed from Dunbar, Wisconsin. Harrison will handle it out front. They'll give it to Conover, and we get a whistle and a foul underneath as they were lobbing to Gresham. Instead of getting the basket, he ends up getting the foul, which will be his second.
Brandon Gershman, a co-captain on this team that Pete Weary going to have to make a decision on here at the 11-minute mark. You keep him in with 2 fouls.
He's already made that decision, and he's going to bring Kyle Gardner back. 3 ball by Garcia is good, and Garcia has found the range after struggling to find it all game long on Tuesday. He's got 3 first-half trifectas. Conover leaves it short, and Josh Green with the rebound, and Arlington on the run. Northland back well defensively, and Garcia Shovels it into Ford, who has inside position, and will finish. And we will get timeout. 10:37 left to play here in the first half, 23-15. Arlington Baptist has the advantage, and Northland International will petition for time. So with 10:37 to go, they trail by 8. And they're in. Another difference in a day like today, where you might normally allow your team to play through a run because of what's at stake. You end up grabbing a quick timeout to slow it down and talk it over. And as we said, for the most part, Northland had done a good job of keeping Arlington from getting out and going to the races.
Yeah, but I think Pete Weary, that maybe was their approach. Let's see if they can hit shots. And I think, as you mentioned, Garcia hitting 3 already, and Rod Reed's hit 1. I think that strategy may have to change here. So one thing I remember about that game on Tuesday is how quickly Arlington got out of the gate on Grace University. Shot 56% in the first half. That game was over at halftime, and Pete Weary needs to make sure that doesn't happen here in this one.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Ball poked out of bounds by Josh Green. That was 37-26. Arlington had the advantage. And Garcia, we said he hit 3 threes in that game, but he was 3 out of 8, 3 out of 10 and from the field, and right now he's hitting a little bit better than that. Baines will handle it out front. A junior out of Wilson, North Carolina, gives it to Conover, 6'3" junior from Reading, Pennsylvania. He's defended by Jeremiah Ford. Baines gets it with a lob into the post, and Rodriguez fronts and pokes it away. In the scramble, Garcia knocks a pass out of bounds. So it'll stay with Northland University, Northland International. 1 second on the shot clock, 10:03 to go, first half. Now they're going to put 2 up there. And as I say that, I think they may have done that on their own.
That's never a good thing.
And by that, I was talking about the scorers table because it switched from 1 back to 2.
Right.
So now the officiating crew of Ray Wesley, Tim Brownlee, and Kevin Ballo. And they do put 2 on the clock, so they were right. But you have to confer and make sure that it is correct. And they're going to have to get something going quickly. A fadeaway 3 hits the board, and a shot clock violation. But it doesn't change the fact that Arlington had the ball. And when I talked about going towards the basket, they needed a shot and a pass going to the hoop.
Yep.
And Arlington made him get everything away.
Did a real nice job. Yep.
The shot out of the corner was a fadeaway.
Yep. It's a good point.
Green has it on the wing. He'll look low for Ford and get him the ball. He'll spin, and as he goes to the baseline, he puts an off-balance shot up and in and draws the foul.
Pete Weary doesn't like that call at all. I thought Gardner played decent D in the midst of all of those Kevin McHale moves there by Jeremiah Ford. I thought he kind of held his ground, and Pete Weary giving Mr. Wesley a Christian earful right now. So doing it very politely but intensely as well.
5 for Ford, first foul on Gardner, and that was a good, tough shot. And you're right, Gardner did play good defense, which means on the post, there's contact.
Yep.
And Ford was able to hang and hit a difficult shot at a tough angle. It's 26-15, an 11-point game. There's a ball into the lane where Conover falls down but gets it back. Into the game now, Levi Horner, a 5'9" freshman who penetrates into the lane. Conover has it poked away, taken away by Josh Green. Harrison trails, Green hits the layup. Green has 11, and we're going to get a full timeout taken this time with 9:02 remaining here in the first half. It is 28-15. The margin has ballooned to 13, and the number 7 seed in Arlington Baptist, and I think you mentioned this on Tuesday, how much of an advantage it would be for teams to play on Tuesday. And we're seeing, at least in this matchup, it might not have made any difference, but then again, it sure looks like it has.
Well, and you take it a step further. Arlington and Ozark both played last week down in Joplin at the ACC. I guess Multnomah did as well. They went 1-1 for the weekend, and they are done. But, I mean, there's an advantage to getting games in, and I think Pete Weary's team not playing Tuesday. It's been 12 days, Rob, and they look a little bit sluggish. And, I mean, these guys, you could just tell, day number one, they've got the pieces to do something really special this week. On Tuesday, we compared them as two guys that have been doing this a while to Southwestern Christian out of Bethany, Oklahoma, that really came out of this Southwest region almost on an annual basis and had the athletes, the guards, that you've got to make a decision. Are you going to try to stay in front of these guys with help? Are you going to let them get to the lane? Are you going to let them shoot? And, I mean, it's just kind of a pick your poison, and Northland is having all kinds of troubles right now. So,
rotate, Hugo! Rotate, Hugo!
Well, Micah Baines is going to get trapped. Lewis will get the ball off to Conover. He'll wait for Rodriguez to fly right by, miss the three, get the rebound, and shovel it under to Gardner, who will lay it in.
Keep going, Rod!
Gardner makes it 28-17. They'll get it into Rodriguez, who will work on Gardner, who has a big strength advantage, if not necessarily a height advantage. Gives up a couple of inches on the post. Garcia will give it back to Josh Green with 15 to shoot. And Green's going to go to the rack, take the baseline, and lay it in.
And that's the responsibility there at Gardner, is the guy on that block. He's got to come over and provide help and shield or cut off that baseline. They've got to get some help from the bigs on penetration like that.
And we were talking about whether or not Reed and Green would still be able to have their quickness advantage. As Lewis tries to drive in, they'll feed it to Gardner underneath, and he'll lay it off the glass.
That's two passes now by Josh Conover that have been absolutely perfectly placed.
Reed missed the layup at the other end, and the rebound to Levi Horner. We'll see Johnny Shrake come in for Arlington Baptist. Three ball out of the corner is no good, and Garcia with a rebound, quick outlet to Green, and he's going to slow things up. 7:25 remaining in the first half. 30-19. We're talking about the guards, Reed and Green. They were going to have an advantage early on. Good position defense by Northland kept them out of the lane, but you're seeing now they're both able to get to the basket.
Yeah.
7 to shoot, and there goes Green. He'll take baseline. Conover with good position and cut him off. So that's what we're talking about. Northland has to play good position defense, and they allow Conover to step into a three. It rattles in and out, no good. He's going to hit that shot 9 times out of 10.
And Green got a break there because he was frustrated at the no call, kind of jogged up the floor and left Josh Conover all alone on that three. Fortunate it didn't cost him, his laziness on that possession.
You got to play every possession when you're in the championship tournament, and sometimes players won't recognize that, as we get Lewis picking up his second foul.
Anthony Lewis, that is his second, team fifth.
That'll be the 5th team foul. 2 on Lewis, 2 on Gresham, and 1 on Gardner. Shrake is in, and Josh Green, who has been going hard, will get a breather. Also in now for Northland International, Luke Valenzuela out of San Francisco. He's a 5'10 junior.
I thought he was out of Los Angeles. Didn't he pitch a couple of years ago, Rob? Isn't there a guy named Valenzuela out there?
Yeah, pretty good one. Ford spins into the lane, dumps it off to Rodriguez, and he'll go to the line. Ford made a good, strong move and saw there was defense there, and so he spun the other way and ran into more defense, and so he had to dump it off. Yeah, I'll be interested to see if Luke has as good a screwball as did Fernando.
You know, one of the things Pete Weary talked about as I prepped with him getting ready for this championship, he said, Rick, there's 2 places we can ill afford to get into foul trouble. He said Micah Baines at the 1, we don't have an answer, and Brandon Gershman at the 5. And Gershman with 2 sitting down right now. And you just wonder how much longer a guy like Gardner, as big as he is, can go with the pace of play we're playing right now here in the first 14 minutes.
Rodriguez, 1 out of 2 throws. He's 1 for 5 from the line in the national championships. It is 31-19, and we're going to get a traveling violation as Baines was doubled up by Reed and Rodriguez, and Rafael Garcia. The winner of this game will play the winner of our next game at 4 o'clock. Number 3 seed North Central University and number 11 seed Ozark Christian. That will be tomorrow night at 6 in the national semifinals. Rodriguez gets it into the block, and he'll turn across the lane, put it high off the glass, no good, and Anthony Lewis with the rebound. So both teams now have come up empty on a couple of possessions in a row. Lewis trying to get by Ford, and Ford gets called for a hand check, and that will be Jeremiah Ford's second foul.
He did a good job initially moving his feet, and then he put that hand in there, and that was an easy call for Tim Brownlee to make, and it's an important one as it's number 2 on Ford.
Kendall Washington, a 6'3 freshman, goes into the ball game. He's out of McKinney, Texas. Northland is going to bring John Egan into the ball game. He's a 6'3 sophomore from Union Grove, Wisconsin. Conover will hang on, feed Gardner, and Gardner has it knocked out by Rodriguez. You take a look. They've got guys on the Northland International roster from Pennsylvania, California, North Carolina, Minnesota, Indiana, Wisconsin, and Georgia, along with Arizona.
And it was Gary Bailey this morning that said, and this place, Dunbar, Wisconsin, is in the middle of nowhere. And he was the one that said to get these guys to come up and play there is, again, worth the National Coach of the Year all by itself. So
Schrake into the lane. Hangs in the air. Missed it. No good. Rodriguez picks up his second foul as he gets called for climbing on the back, trying to back tap. And that's going to bring Willie Claiborne into the game, a 6'4 freshman. Claiborne from Cedar Hill, Texas.
You been to Dunbar, Wisconsin?
No, sir. I have also not been to, and this is where Brandon Gershman is from, Dracula, Georgia. Just missing an arm. Reed with a steal. Layup is good. Rod Reed with 5. It's 33-19. But slowly but surely, foul trouble for the Patriots, and the pass into the big man Gardner in the middle, knocked out of bounds. So some guys who got complimentary minutes in Tuesday's game are going to have to play major minutes here in the first half. We're talking about Washington and Claiborne for Arlington Baptist. Conover on the inbound, having trouble. They barely get it in, and the way the pass was thrown, Rod Reed couldn't do a whole lot, and he's going to get called for his first foul. The one good thing that out of this for Arlington Baptist is Josh Green is getting some time to rest on the bench, because there may be a time here in a few minutes that he's going to need to come in and close this half out.
Really assert himself.
Conover had an open look, didn't take it. In traffic, dumps it down low to Gardner, whose shot is short, no good, but Claiborne can't corral the rebound, and it'll go out of bounds to the Pioneers with 4:35 to go, and they'll get a new shot clock.
I'm impressed with Conover passing the basketball. 3.7 assists coming in. It's another tough play right there to position that one to Gardner. Just couldn't finish.
Valenzuela had it knocked away from him by Garcia. They'll whip it cross floor to Reed, whose runner is no good. But there is Washington for the putback. Kendall Washington with his first deuce of the game. And because Northland International has not been able to score much, the few baskets that Arlington has gotten over the last 3 or 4 minutes has extended their lead. Gardner backs his man down. Reverse layup is no good, and a travel is going to be called. And now you're seeing, and we've seen this before, frustration starting to set in on the part of the number 2 seed.
Yeah. Not sure, did he travel? I thought he was still dribbling the basketball. I'm not sure you can walk. It's one of the things my friend that said he is an official. I mean, you can dribble up the floor with 3 dribbles, and it's not a travel. You mean, it looked like he was still, even when we're doing it very quickly, Rob, but it looked like the ball was still bouncing.
Garcia bangs home a 3 out of the corner, and that, my friends, was a tough shot. He's got 12 here in the first half. 38-19. They've got it doubled with 3.5 minutes to go. Now they can't let down and lose their intensity. They'll get the ball to Lewis. Lewis will step out to the arc, pick up the dribble, bounce it underneath, and Gardner with a reverse layup will not go. He'll get it back and score.
Basketball Conley, Gardner.
Gardner has 6.
I think you commented on it. Gershman back in with the 2 fouls, so Pete Weary maybe would have liked to have sat him the rest of this half, but doesn't have the luxury to do that, down 17.
Reed puts it on the glass, but there was nobody on the offensive glass for Arlington. Conover, 3 ball. Missed it, no good. Johnny Schrake with the rebound, and they'll leave it off for Rod Reed, and Cliff McDaniel says, easy.
McDaniel coaches the women as well. They play at 3 o'clock local time up at OCU. We'll take on the 2-seed Manhattan.
A layup after a steal for Conover. He has 4.
It's pretty unique, isn't it?
One of the few, well, yeah, unique to have both, same coach, both teams. One of the few turnovers today that has cost Arlington Baptist. Claiborne looks for Washington, takes it himself to the rack, feeds it to Washington for the layup.
The only guy, you're the historian, you've been doing this a lot longer than I have, but Charlie Williams at Ozark, the late Charlie Williams did both of them, 700 or 800 wins. The only guy I can think of.
Layup by Gardner, he has 8. 40-25, and at this pace, I don't know that Kyle Gardner can score enough points to get him back in this one with 95 seconds to go. Washington from the top of the key. That's not the shot they wanted. So with under a minute and a half to go, Lewis with a 3 in and out, no good. And again, not sure that early in the shot clock that's what you want.
Now give the big fella a touch. You can get that shot anytime you want. Give him a touch inside out.
It's a much better 3 attempt when you go inside out.
Absolutely, much higher percentage. You're absolutely right.
Reed pitches outside to Schrake. Claiborne with a screen. Schrake will give it to Garcia. He'll step into a 3, miss it long, no good. And nobody went after the rebound. It's loose on the floor, and Arlington Baptist comes out of there with it.
Gardner boxed out. He just didn't finish. He watched the basketball bounce. Grab the ball, big fella.
You know, so there were 4 other guys with white jerseys that could have grabbed it too, big guy. There's a turnover. You're going to see Josh Green come back in, and like we said, give him a chance to rest, and he got some good rest on the bench the last couple of minutes of the half, probably the last 5-6 minutes of the half, and now he can get in. And so there's about 2 seconds difference, shot clock to game clock, and Gardner gets it in the lane. He has 10. It's 40-27. The lead's still 13. And with 20 seconds to go in the first half, Arlington can go for the last shot. Now you've got Lewis with 2 fouls guarding him. If you're Green, do you drive it to the basket and try to get a 3rd foul on him? They hedge out on him. He's going to pull up, and Lewis able to reach in to get the steal. The half-court shot off the glass. And we have reached the intermission. So Lewis taking a chance with 2 fouls, and he poked it away from the guard. And Arlington Baptist has the advantage here at the half. It's 40-27, but they had a bigger lead than that going into the last couple of minutes of this first half. As we take a quick look at the scoring unofficially, Josh Green with 13. Rafael Garcia with 12, and he's hit 4 threes. Rod Reed and Jeremiah Ford with 5 apiece. Ford setting out with 2 fouls the last half of the first half. Kendall Washington off the bench with 4 in place of Jeremiah Ford. And then you get 1 from Hugo Rodriguez, and they've kept him quiet after a monster game on Tuesday in which he had 10 points and 18 boards. 11 from Micah Baines with 3 threes. 10 from Kyle Gardner, 4 from Josh Conover on a 13.6 point per game average, and then 2 from Anthony Lewis on an 11 point per game average. So right there's your story. And Northland shoots 43%, 12 of 28 in the first half, 3 of 12 from 3, and did not visit the line. Arlington was 15 of 31 in the first half for 48%, 5 of 10 from 3, and 5 of 6 from the line, 19-13. Northland International with the rebound advantage, 5 assists on 15 made baskets for the Patriots, 4 turnovers, 5 assists on 12 made baskets for the Pioneers, 10 first half turnovers for Northland International. So Pete Weary will head to regroup at halftime as the participants in our next game get set to warm up, as Ozark Christian is out on the floor along with the number 3 seed North Central University. So we are at halftime of our first game, first of 4 here today on the National Christian College Athletic Association Sports Network. 40-27. Arlington Baptist has the advantage over the number 2 seed Northland International, and we'll start the second half coming up. First of the quarterfinal games here in the Division II Men's Basketball Championship. 1/2 of the first game on the board. Arlington Baptist with a 40-27 lead over Northland International. And, you know, the percentages are fine, Rick, for both teams. I mean, they're in the 40s. They're respectable, but you can tell that Northland has been playing with a little bit of rust.
I think so. I think the foul trouble didn't help them in the first half, a little bit underneath. And I'll tell you what, if Arlington shoots 50% on threes, I think the party's over in this second half.
We'll have to see is Northland with the ball. And they'll get it to Lewis. It'll come outside to Micah Baines. He'll work on Rod Reed with a step-back 3 that's too hard. And the rebound run down by Josh Green. Green shovels it to Rodriguez, who scoops the layup in. Rodriguez with 3. His first field goal of the game, and the lead is back to 15 at 42-27. Freshman in the post. He'll turn, miss the floater. Gardner with the rebound, and he'll miss the follow, and we get a whistle and a foul. And Rodriguez had inside position, and Kyle Gardner will pick up foul number 2. Thing is that everybody who got into early foul trouble got through the half with only 2 fouls, and honestly, I really like to see that because I want to see the
best play.
Yep. Best players out there. Rod Reed will find Garcia. They're going to keep an eye on him, and he's going to try one from way outside and miss it long, no good. Kicked off the glass.
Good box out by both of the bigs, Gardner and Gershman underneath.
These guys both very fundamentally sound. Lewis is going to settle for a 2-point shot from the arc, and we talked about that first half as he hits his second field goal. It went in that time, but still early, and you can get that one just about any time as Ford finds Green, who loses the handle on it as he was trying to go into the lane on Conover. He does so after he regains control and gets the shooter's roll. He has 15.
I want to see Josh Green's hands after this game. He holds the basketball like you and I would hold a softball going into the land of the Giants.
Very, very big hands for a little guy. Gardner from the outside avoids a charge, gets it to Baines into the lane, and a block is going to be called underneath. And this one will be on Jeremiah Ford. And Ford is correct that he was set, but Ford was also inside the semicircle. And that will be his 3rd. Conover to inbound. Lewis, top of the circle. Catch and shoot 3 is good.
And I can live with that, Rob, because it was off the pass. It was in the flow of the offense, not on the dribble. I think it's a little bit different. It's a better shot from Anthony Lewis.
He was set, and he caught it and went straight up. The other times he was fading a little bit. Green penetrate and pitch. He'll get it back and have a set shot for a three that'll tie it up. That'll answer the one that Lewis had a moment ago. 18 for Green, his first three ball of the afternoon. And it's back to a 15-point game at 47-32.
Hand up. Hand up.
Lewis gets it. Deep three. No good. He's fading a little bit in the Kirk Hansen Court logo. But I can even see that one as being okay because they were passing around, and you'd like it a whole lot better if it went in.
Yeah.
Rodriguez on the roll to the basket, missed it, no good, but he'll get it back and score. 5 for Hugo Rodriguez, 49-32, and this might be Arlington's biggest lead. They might have been this close in the first half. Baines trying to get to the rack and wrap it around the defense to Gardner, and Rodriguez pokes it out of bounds, and we're going to get a timeout taken with 16:47 remaining in the game. 49-32.
Full timeout.
This will be a full timeout. Arlington Baptist with the advantage.
It's just a tough play for Baines there. Went too far into the lane to try to pass it at the last minute. And even if the big does catch it against the athleticism, the size of Arlington underneath the basket, I'm not sure you're going to be able to do much with it. It's one of those ones, if it gets there as a big man, an undersized big man, I've been there. It's like, thanks, but no thanks. And I don't want any part of that basketball with Hugo Rodriguez at 6'7", right on my back, ready to pin that thing against the glass. So.
It's called thanks, but no thanks, and get that weak thing out of here. Arlington got to this game by beating the number 10 seed, Grace University, 81-64. Ozark Christian, the 11 seed, beat Valley Forge, the number 6 seed, on Tuesday, 78-73. The entertaining game of the day in terms of up and down action, number 9 Manhattan Christian beat number 8 Multnomah, 120-111. And then the final game of Tuesday evening, Florida Christian, the number 5 seed, beat CBC 74-70. Now Ozark will play North Central University at 4 o'clock in our next game. The Pioneers will get the ball inbounds. Baines and Reed dueling. Micah Baines trying to get to the basket and then pitches out to a Conover for a deep three that is off no good. And Rodriguez, little stronger on the glass to start this one.
He's boxing out well underneath also.
But he's also going after it strong. And Arlington with the basketball. Green gets a screen from Willie Claiborne, who checked in for Jeremiah Ford when Ford picked up his third. Rodriguez with a screen. Garcia dumps it down to Claiborne, who puts it off the glass and in.
Basket by Willie Claiborne.
Claiborne with his first two, and it's 51-32. We have played 4 minutes here in the second half. Conover will get it outside to Lewis, and he'll knock down a 3-ball. Lewis with his second three, and he's in double figures with 10. He scored 8 quick points here in the second half. Our 6 o'clock game tonight will be the matchup of number 1 and number 9 as Garcia dumps it across the lane and throws it out of bounds. It will go to Northland University, or Northland International. Ohio Christian, the number 1 seed, against Manhattan Christian, the number 9 seed, and then the 5 seed in Florida Christian will play the number 4 seed, Trinity Baptist, coming up tonight at 8 o'clock. So that's the schedule of games for today. And we'll have them all right here as Green goes for a steal, doesn't get it. Lewis takes him down to the baseline and missed one. A fade from about 16 feet out, and Claiborne with the rebound.
Eager to see that 8 o'clock game tonight. 4th meeting of the year between Trinity and Florida, 2 South Region foes, and winner is going to stay alive and get to the Final Four.
Green left one short. We get a whistle and a foul, and we got
Foul number 50, Kyle Gardner. That is his third.
Gardner picking up his third.
Got to share what Pete Weary said about Kyle Gardner. He was getting little fast facts about every player, and he said Kyle Gardner, born June 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, is what he said about Kyle Gardner. The big fella going to have to sit down here with 3 fouls at the 15:02 mark.
19 for Josh Green. Second free throw, he'll get a shooter's roll. He has 20 unofficially. And on the inbound, Arlington Baptist will pressure just a little bit, and Rod Reed is going to make Micah Baines work just a little bit here. He'll pull up left side of the circle, leave it short, and we get a technical foul called while activity is going on out of the floor. And Pete Weary picks up the tee with 14:47 remaining.
Not only did they tee Pete Weary up, but then he asked Tim Brownlee, "Can I talk to you?" And Tim Brownlee looked over and said, "No," and walked the other way. So apparently Weary's at the other end. He's one of the most entertaining coaches to watch, but so we're not seeing exactly what he's saying or doing, but enough that Tim Brownlee wants no further dialogue with Mr. Weary.
First free throw is good by Rod Reed. He's got 6. Shooting 7. Now, the timing of the technical is such that the ball stays with Arlington Baptist because they had the ball already. And we'll see how his ball club reacts after the tee. Coaches have been known to try to use that to get a spark, usually as a last resort because something bad occurs first in that you give the other team points, but it results in his team getting a steal. Going to the other end as Baines with a finger roll in the lane. He has 13. 55-37, and Rod Reed will back it out. They're going to try to double up the ball out top. Find Garcia. Rodriguez with the screen. They'll dump it down low to Claiborne, who missed the shot, but a charge is going to be called. A push by Rafael Garcia.
I don't think they've realized. Now they do. I think they thought it was going to be a block, and I just read 33 Garcia's lips. He said, "Foul on me." He thought they were calling it a block, and we were staying here. And no, that's number 1 on Garcia, 3 on the team.
It was very close to being that because when the defensive player hit the deck, he landed inside the circle, but his feet were planted outside. We played 6 minutes. Baines from the foul line area knocks it down. Now don't look now whether you think it's the result of the tee or not, but it's 55-39. They've knocked a couple of points off and made a couple of good defensive plays to get stops.
It's a tough shot there by Micah Baines. Made it look easy.
Reed has it outside. Johnny Schrake head of the circle. Josh Green ignores the Claiborne pick, now comes back to use it. And he will dump it low, Rodriguez. They'll get it out front to Reed with 5 on the shot clock. Reed from way downtown, bang.
They went under screens earlier. Gary Bailey, the Grace coach, a friend of Pete Weary, said that was going to be the game plan. They changed it right there. They went under the screen again, and Rod Reed going to kill you if you do that.
58-39. Baines tries to answer with a 3 of his own, missed it, and Schrake with the rebound. And Josh Green, he was wanting to go. He's a thoroughbred, you could tell. And Cliff McDaniel said, nope, slow it up, and he put the brakes on and got it to Reed. They'll give the ball to Rodriguez. He's going to operate on the baseline, and the hand check is going to be called on Brandon Greshman. That will be his 3rd. 3 fouls now is not as critical as it was in the first half, but they'll still use this opportunity to get Conover back in the ball game, and we will get a full timeout taken. I believe Northland International called that one as well. They've got 2 remaining.
You know, one of the other benefits of playing a Tuesday, Rob, I kind of think back to when we played in '95 down at Cincinnati Bible College and Cincinnati Christian University. You know, first day of the tournament, it was an 8-team tournament then. We came out with Ty Barnes, He was shooting threes, as you said, from the volleyball line, and I really felt like the tournament was over at that point. Psychologically, everybody in the stands, the teams were all there. They looked at KCU with Ty Barnes and said, there's no way we're going to be able to beat this guy. We're playing for second place at that point. He was that good, and I kind of felt with Arlington the other day, I think they were maybe the storyline of that Tuesday. They were so effective, so athletic. They dominated Grace University, and you just wondered how Northland approached this game. They had to sit in the seats and think about how good Arlington was, and I don't know. I think there was a mental advantage as well as just the advantage of playing as many games as they've played 4 more games in the last 10 or 11 days than Northland has.
Yeah, the whole key is you don't necessarily want to play to where you get tired, but yet you want to play to stay sharp.
Yep.
12:40 remaining in the game.
What I want to know is how these guys went 1-2 up at the ACCA. What did they do up there to slow them down? Because it ain't happening here.
They were looking forward to this tournament.
I guess.
Josh Green down the side of the lane. Claiborne with 13 to shoot. Goes up, has his shot rejected. Nice block by Jordan Harrison, but a steal in the backcourt, and Josh Green can't come up with the ball. Lewis will pitch it out for a 3. That is in and out, no good. That one fired up by Levi Horner, who's a 38% three-point shooter. They'll get the ball up floor, and a layup by Josh Green. So Green gets the easy one. He's got 22, and it's 60-39, and I think it's safe to say the effects of the tee have worn off.
He's driving.
Lewis backs his way down on Green, flips it off the glass with the left hand, goes to get the rebound and put it back in.
Good second effort by Anthony Lewis.
You could see where he could be a pretty good player, and I'm not so sure that he wasn't too concerned about that off-balance left-handed shot, because he knew if he got it on the glass, he could go get it.
Absolutely.
We'll see Jeremiah Ford back in for Arlington as they turn it over. Baines feeds it across to Horner for the layup.
Well, we were critical of Baines a minute ago on that pass. That's exactly how you set up a 5'9" guy into the lane on a 2-on-2 break. Gave it to Horner in a position that all he had to do was raise up and shoot it. Nicely done.
We'll see Ford and Garcia come back for Arlington Baptist at the next break. 11 minutes to play in the game. Schrake at the elbow will get it outside to Green with 13 to shoot. Green outside to Rod Reed with 7 to shoot. He's going to see an opening. Pitch it outside. Rodriguez from the baseline knocks it down. Rodriguez has 7, and that was good offense right there.
And again, if they're hitting threes and they're hitting baseline shots like that on penetration, how do you stop that? I just don't know the answer, and I don't think Pete Weary does either.
Arlington Baptist by 19 as Conover missed a left-handed drive into the lane, and Claiborne with the rebound. We have 10:20 remaining in this game. 19-point lead in the ball for Arlington Baptist, 62-43. Reed to Green outside. Conover trying to stay with him. He'll get around, and a foul will be called. And it will be a push on Conover, and that will be his first. We'll see Ford wearing 32, Garcia wearing 33. Schrake and Rodriguez will grab seats for Arlington Baptist. On the inbound, Reed can't find Garcia and make connections, so the turnover will give it back to Northland International. Exactly 10 minutes remaining in this one. Horner from the baseline, short, no good. He was defended by Garcia, and Rod Reed at 5'9" goes up to get the rebound. He'll get a forward screen. Claiborne looks inside, outside to Garcia. Ford has it, head of the circle. He'll start his move on Gardner and kick it back outside with 15 to shoot. Shot clock is down to 8. Reed's open. 3 ball to the air. That's money. Third 3 for Reed. He's got 13 points. And the lead back to 22 with 9:10 remaining. Baines. They'll get the ball to Gardner, who will spin down low, and Ford gets called for the arm bar. And that will be his 4th.
Most of the time, he's coming over to the bench. He's confused because it was a forearm that typically they'll allow you to put on the back of the offensive player. And he went to his coach and he said, I thought we were allowed to do that. I mean, that's that issue where some officials will allow it, and apparently these guys today have decided, no, we're not going to allow it. So some confusion.
And they did early in the game, so I could see where there is confusion as Gardner gets down low and lays it in.
Tell you, if that was a foul, I would have been in big trouble.
We have time called as Anthony Lewis limps over to the Northland bench, and Levi Horner comes back.
Josh, you need to draw help.
I'm watching Mike McCarty down there on the Northland International bench, the coach in waiting, AD in waiting, and he's about just as enthusiastic as Pete Weary. I call Pete Weary kind of a Christian Jim Valvano, the way he leads this team.
Northland wanted to charge, didn't get it, and Garcia will miss the 3. Greshman the rebound. We'll see Lewis come back in momentarily as Conover knocks down a 3. His first 3 of the game. He has 7, and they're going to jump into full court pressure, and Arlington is going to have to handle the basketball under that pressure. Claiborne gets it safely into the offensive end, and now we're going to get a stoppage as players or the coach want him to sit down.
I think an assistant and some guys on the bench. So
on the inbound, Josh Green. This is a tough matchup for Conover.
Yep. And
you don't see him shying away from it. Now he's going to come to double Reed and commit a foul.
Conover's really was the main weapon up until this year when Micah Baines and Anthony Lewis arrived, and Pete Weary said it's really had a better season. Last couple of years has really had to try to do everything, and it's kind of provided a little bit of assistance and has had a much better year. He's a 2-time All-American in soccer as well at Northland. That's their primary sport, 8 national championships, including 3 in a row from 2002 to 2004.
Green gets away, pitches out to Garcia at the foul line, and he'll back it outside. Rod Reed has it. Claiborne will find Garcia. Shot clock at 14. Rodriguez puts it on the deck, spins into a double team, and gives it to Claiborne. 5 to shoot. Claiborne with a floater in the lane that won't go, but more importantly, it was a shot that got up, and as Claiborne saved it to Baines, Conover across floor to Lewis. Lewis with a dribble drive, whips it underneath the Gardner. He missed it. Gardner goes to get the putback, missed that follow, and will shoot 2. Rodriguez with his 3rd foul. That's just the 4th foul of the half called on Arlington Baptist.
Maybe worth noting, according to my notes, Rob Evans, first free throws of the game for Northland International. Is that what?
That sounds about right. Jeremiah Ford will be coming back. Gardner hits that first free throw of the day.
Gardner's, I interrupted. I'm talking over you. You go ahead, Mr. Evans.
He's got 13. He'll shoot one more.
He's got some good athletic blood in that Gardner family. Sister Macy, #1 all-time in kills in the state of Arizona, and the Pac-12 Player of the Week on a couple occasions at Arizona. She's trying out for the USA volleyball team. So
I hear they're pretty good.
I like
Team
to see
USA
her
in
play.
volleyball, yeah.
And anything out in that West Coast with volleyball, talking about Arizona, they're usually pretty good as well.
65-50, the lead is 15 with 7 minutes to go, and Green gets to the rack and lays it in. He has 24. Green had 14 in the opener against Grace. Baines down to the baseline, a tough fadeaway jumper. Lewis gets the rebound, and he'll clean it up and lay it in. 14 for Lewis, 12 here in the second half, 67-52. And Reed will split two defenders, going to go to the rack, dump it off for Claiborne. Willie can't find the handle, and it'll be picked up by Baines. They've got a chance to cut it to 13, 12 if they hit a three, but Conover missed the front end, and in the scramble for the rebound, we get a whistle. And that foul is on Greshman, and that will be his fourth.
Mr. Kyle Gardner would like to have that left-handed layup back. He's been so crafty with both hands underneath the basket and was uncontested really there when he missed that one from up close.
Johnny Schrake back into the ball game for Arlington Baptist, and Levi Horner is in. Greshman will sit down. So the two players in the game who have 4 fouls were both out there, and now Greshman leaves, leaving Jeremiah Ford of Arlington Baptist. Claiborne at the line. He has 2, shooting 3, and he rattles it home. We'll see Kendall Washington back in, and Jeremiah Ford is going to get out. 6:13 left.
They've shot it well from 3. They've shot it well from 2, and why not? I've got them 10 of 11 from the charity stripe in this game, which according to my Texas Instruments calculator puts them at 91% in this game.
And that one is going to fall short. Still, though, the thing is they have been aggressive enough offensively to get to the line. Lewis. And that time he'll get to the line and draw a foul. But as we've talked about, they have taken jump shots as opposed to trying to get to the rack.
Yep.
Foul number 11, Josh Green.
Green will pick up his first foul.
Shooting 2, Anthony.
Tell you what, through a day and a half of the winners bracket, I don't know that I've seen a better basketball team, Rob, than this Arlington team. I think they've got the pieces to cut the nets down on Saturday night. I've seen Ohio Christian, have not seen North Central. They were not here a year ago. Obviously, they've got the National Player of the Year, but we've seen Florida. We see what they're doing to Northland. Tell you what, you're going to have to play well to beat this Arlington team. They have all the tools to get it done.
Lewis hits 1 of 2. He has 15. We're under 6 minutes to play, and it's 68-53. Rod Reed gets a screen from Rodriguez, who checked back in, off to Josh Green. I've been very impressed with Mr. Green's ability to do a number of things, including battle with guys bigger than him defensively. And like you say, his hands are huge.
Held it again like a softball. Jeez.
Right there, you go get a corner, Josh.
Reed's going to pull up with 3 on the shot clock, and he knocks down a 3. He's got 4 threes and 17 points, 12 here in the second half. And that was a big shot for Arlington Baptist. 71-53. Conover tried to answer, had it blocked. Gardner gets it underneath and gets the roll and the foul. And Schrake, who leaped high in the air, landed and paid the price.
Poor kid got called for a foul and felt the wrath of Mr. Gardner underneath the basket.
His first, team 6.
Lost both of those battles.
Shooting 1, Kyle Gardner.
Ford is going to come back in, and we will get timeout taken by Pete Weary and Northland International. They're down to 1 timeout remaining.
You know, I know there's a lot of different aspects to this game, but I don't want to oversimplify it, but it really comes down to what you're going to do on the pick and roll with Arlington Baptist. If you go under it, these guards have shown the ability to hit threes. All 3 of them, talking about Green, Reed, and Garcia. You go over that screen, And now you're counting on guys like Gardner and Gershman to try to slow those guards down. And even if they're stepping out, those guards are still showing an ability to get into the lane and wreak havoc. And I just don't know, looking at the field, Rob, what you do with those guards. I mean, it's a pick your poison, and Pete Weary's tried a little bit of both today, and nothing has seemed to work.
Back when the Mailman and John Stockton played together out in Utah, they played in the league where the best basketball players in the world were there at that time, and those guys couldn't stop the pick and roll.
That's right. The last time I checked, Mailman scored an awful lot of points, and
Stockton got handed out an awful lot of dimes.
Yes, I think he's number 1 all time.
Gardner completes the three-point play. He has 17. It's 71-56. Rod Reed in the backcourt against the press, ahead to Jeremiah Ford in the open floor. He's going to turn. After backing outside, he'll go to the rack, and Lewis appeared to block the shot cleanly up top, and he got him with the body. So Lewis will pick up his third, and I was waiting to see where they called the foul. If they'd have called it up top, I would have disagreed.
Right.
Body, okay. And Ford calmly drains the first free throw. He has 6 points.
Rob, I found out at the last break we have a celebrity watching us today. Young man in Israel, Alan Durham, the 2011 Maravich Award winner, 3-time, I think, national champ at Grace Bible, watching us as he plays professionally over in Israel. So the poor guy must have a lot of free time on his hands.
Horner will shoot a 3 out of the corner. That's an air ball, but Rod Reed knocks it out of bounds, so it'll stay with Pioneers.
Did you ever see Durham play?
I did not.
A lot of people glad that young man is not wearing a jersey over here anymore. He had made a living in this tournament.
Lewis with 18 points, knocking down his third 3, and Arlington Baptist trying to get it to Garcia, and the ball is knocked out of bounds. My schedule the last several years for the tournament, when they went to the new format, never really coincided with being able to get over here an awful lot, and this was one of the years that it has. So I've seen more games this year, and I'll tell you what, there's some pretty good players as Conover picks up his third foul. Thought he had a path to a steal, but at the end, after knocking it away clean, made contact with Josh Green.
I've been covering it like you have for many, many years, and Alan Durham, I would say by far the best post presence that I have ever seen at this Division II level. Just a man playing with boys, and that's why he's making a living shooting the rock over in Israel right now. Going to try to get to the D-League and still dreaming of a shot in the NBA, and it couldn't happen to a finer young man. The Lord is honoring him, and appreciate Alan Durham watching us this afternoon.
Green with 2 throws to give him 26. Yeah, I've seen a lot of good players here as Horner cranks up a 3 that barely draws the iron, pops around, and eventually Josh Green will come out of there with it. And he'll get it to Rod Reed, and we're down under 4 minutes left to go. 75-59, Arlington Baptist trying to put this one away. And Garcia will get fouled. I've seen a lot of things and a lot of good players that I know could play on a higher level. But I've never seen a player who continued to get paid to play after his career and playing in this tournament. So that tells you how good a player he is. I don't remember hearing of anybody who
Ty Barnes did it a little bit. He was such a homebody after he left KCU, went to Australia for a year, and you think playing overseas, it's the good life, you're making money. Well, you know what? It's a lonely life, too. Mom and Dad were back in Ironton, Ohio, and that's where he wanted to be, and so gave it up and has chosen to do sports and ministry and teaching instead, and admire him for that. So
away from the ball, we get a foul after 2 free throws.
Foul number 23, Rod Reed. That is his second.
Reed will pick up his second foul.
At the line, shooting 1-1.
And Micah Baines will go to the line and shoot. That was the 7th foul, and it was away from everything.
Hey, it's all right. Just block out.
Free throw rattles in and out and back in. Baines with 16, shooting 17. You know, I was listening to the coaches, and you can hear them. They're right next to us. Well, that's okay. Just block out. That's the cure for everything. Block out. Baines will get 1 of 2, and Garcia gets the rebound. Baines took it away from him, and Garcia poked it away from Baines, and Northland will keep it.
One thing about Pete Weary, and the little I know about him, he will continue to coach, and they will continue to play. They will fight to the final horn, and had it within 14 a minute ago.
Shot no good out of the corner by Baines. Rodriguez will get the rebound, and Reed weaves his way through traffic. 3-on-2. Nobody stops him, and he'll go to the rack and lay it in. He has 19.
Shooter, Josh. Help side, Hugo.
19-point lead. Conover with a 3. Barely draws the iron, and Rodriguez got the rebound, and Conover, while trying to hold his hand straight up, made contact, and that will be his 4th. Hugo Rodriguez to the line with 7 unofficially. Kind of a line drive, too hard, and I think you could hear them say up, Hugo, up, and get him to get a little more air under the free throw.
Can't smack his hands too hard together in surprise or shock. He comes in at a blistering 40%, 21 out of 53, so this is maybe the norm.
That time the line drive goes down, and he has 8 points, and everybody out there right now for Northland can shoot the ball. They came back with Harrison, and Reed is going to get called for a hand check. That will be his 3rd.
Foul number 23, Rod Reed. That is his 3rd, team 8.
And Reed trying to...
Shooting 1-on-1 for Northland, number 3.
These guys are not tolerating much talk from anybody, are they? Because Reed was just talking to him, and he's like, nope, get away from me.
I don't think it's what he said or how he said it, but maybe the frequency of how many times he's done that today. There seems to be a lot of John. That's something that has changed. You talk about from my era to now.
1 out of 2 from the line, 17 for Baines. Go ahead.
Something that Kirk Hansen, I know you haven't done CBC basketball. He may work the officials, but he does not tolerate much from his players. John with the men in stripes, and that's how Dick Dameron was at KCU. So,
and we get the first time out of the game taken by Arlington Baptist with 3:02 to go to save the possession, up 19, 80-61, and I think that is something that has changed, and whenever I express this, it makes me feel like I've become my grandfather because I remember him saying that about my generation, that, you know, there's a little respect and things like that. But that's one thing that I think that Coach Dameron would say, and I know Coach Hansen would say, and that is players have changed, and you've got to adapt how you deal with them. And I know in Kirk's case, he is backed off. I mean, things that he could do to get through to players of an older era you can't do today because players crumble at that point. The good ones don't, but most do.
And I can accept all of that, but it's also disheartening sometimes watching a game and watching so much John with the men in stripes. They're 3 guys. They're imperfect. They're going to make mistakes. You know, sometimes you just got to shut up and play basketball, you know, and that's something I wish we had from the old days still today. So
Reed with 3 to shoot, gets into the lane, off to Rodriguez. His shot rejected by Lewis, excuse me, and a shot clock violation will ensue with 2:40 to go. But if they're allowed to run the shot clock down under 5 seconds every time, there's not enough possessions left in this game. So Northland will have to adjust their strategy as Baines with the teardrop runner, and he has 19 points. And Northland has just used their final timeout with 2:28 to go, the final that I have. We'll see if at the far end of press row that we've been keeping track correctly. But to continue, since we have a full timeout along those lines, I think there is a subtle change where players seem to take more liberty in voicing their own opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are times when you have a coach will tell a player, go talk to the official, but this is during the course of the game and things like that, and it's not just here.
Right.
And
right.
in fact, this is one of the few tournaments that you really see things like that, but you see it all the time if you watch a game on TV.
Right, and I think a lot of times the coach sets the trend for that. That's what's interesting about Coach Hansen. I love Coach Hansen, but I know he works the officials hard, but he, at the same time, has never allowed his players to get into that, and I like that. I don't mind it. A coach is there to work them a little bit, but a lot of times you have a coach that's out of control and acting like a wild man. The fans start following suit. They start losing their Christianity, and so do the players. And so I think a lot of it, they call it travel here, but a lot of it starts with the man at the helm, I think, sometimes.
Well, and I think that it's a wise coach who will let his players know that you don't do this, that's my job.
That's right. That's right.
Johnny Shrake is back in for Arlington Baptist after the travel. Rafael Garcia will grab a seat. Baines on the inbound. Reed poked it away. Baines gets it back, and they're going to call a bump. And Reed is going to get hit with his fourth foul.
And I will say one final thought on that. A guy that we're going to have on the broadcast at 6 tonight, Gary Bailey, same way. Doesn't do a whole lot of barking, but there is absolutely zero tolerance with that Grace Bible program for John with the men in stripes. You get out there and play, and I will take care of protecting you and encouraging and challenging the referees a little bit, and I've always admired that from Coach Bailey.
Baines with a three-point play to give him 22 points. It's 80-66 with 2:18 to go, and Jeremiah Ford weaves his way through traffic, and he will get it to Reed, who's playing with 4 fouls, and Reed got the ball poked away, and we get a timeout taken. So Arlington Baptist will take a timeout, and Pete Weary thought that he just lost the ball. Well, he had a little help losing the ball.
I saw a college game not too long. I had to call my friend who was an official, Rob. I was so confused. It was deflected in front of the timeline, okay? Then it was touched. Possession was never re-controlled by the offensive team, went behind the timeline, and the men in stripes called an over and back, and the announcer, I think it was Dick Vitale or Jay Billis or somebody, the color commentator, may have been Clark Kellogg, said it was because it was touched last by the offensive team. I've been doing this 20 years. I was so confused. I had to dial up my friend who's an official, and I said, is that right? It has nothing to do whether who touches it last on the front of that timeline. It's whether or not the defensive team knocked the basketball at any point, and if the offensive team never re-controlled it, then I don't know if I made any sense right there. Did you understand what I just said at all? I mean, it just, if the defensive team touches the basketball and that ball goes behind the timeline, it's not an over and back no matter who touches it last. And the announcer on ESPN made a mistake, and I thought I was losing my mind. So,
well, they'll get it inside to Rodriguez, who lays it up and in. And are they going to count the hoop? Or is he saying on the floor?
Ray Wesley is saying, no bucket.
Well, that's what was happening, but I'm here to tell you that when you do this, that's usually the sign that it's
bucket good. Yep.
But yes, it was a foul on the floor. And Horner with the foul, his second. Rodriguez with a couple of throws, and whenever he gets the ball under the cup, they're going to do everything they can to grab him because he's not going to shoot free throws very well.
And let's take it a step further. Why would you not foul him every time now? As long as they're going to leave him on the floor as a 40% shooter.
Horner picks up a block after Arlington got the rebound. And by the way, on your long dialogue there.
Thank you. Help me, please.
I followed you. Well, actually, I got lost until you got to the end, and you summed it up pretty well.
Thank you.
Defense touches it, and it goes into the backcourt. It's a free ball.
Doesn't matter if the offense touches it last or not in front of midcourt. And I think it was Clark Kellogg, an Ohio State Buckeye. He should know better, but led me astray and wasted about a half hour of my life doing research.
Schrake with 2 throws. It's 82-66, and we will have our first upset of this side of the bracket of the very first game, according to the seeds, as Baines missed it. Rodriguez grabs the rebound and gets fouled as Northland is trying to shorten this or extend this game.
You can foul away from the basketball too. I mean, it's number 42, Rodriguez, at 40%. I played in the men's league about 3 weeks ago against a guy that was a terrible free throw shooter. We needed to stop the clock, and I looked at the referee and said, I'm going to foul him right now, even though he doesn't have the basketball, and I don't want it to be called intentional. You know, I'm going to hold him, but I'm going to do it in a way that looks like I'm making a legitimate play, and I'd say I would do that right now with Mr. Rodriguez, who makes me look bad by hitting the first and the second.
Yeah, there you go. That happens every now and then.
I know.
4 out of every 10, it happens. Down to 95 seconds. Micah Baines will pitch it outside, and Josh Green gets up to tip the pass away. 1 minute and 33 seconds left to go. And Arlington Baptist is into the Final Four. And they will play on Friday night at 6 o'clock against either Ozark Christian or North Central University. And so you're going to have a new team there to join them, because Ozark hadn't won a game in this tournament since the late 70s. 78, I believe you said was.
78. Dudley Rutherford, an All-American on that team, ended up being John Wooden's minister at a church out in Los Angeles.
Reed is going to weave his way through traffic and then veer outside, and he'll give it to Schrake. And we're down to 1 minute 18. Number 3, North Central University, wasn't at the tournament last year. Down to 1 minute 5, 13 to shoot. They'll get the ball to Ford. He sees an alley open up and then had the ball poked away by Harrison. They'll give it to Conover, who will knock down a 3-ball. He's got 10 points, his second 3 of the half. It's 84-69, and we're down to 50 seconds.
Only one senior on this Northland team, Gershman, so they bring a lot back next year for the coach Mike McCarty, who will take over for the National Coach of the Year, Pete Weary. They'll need to win tomorrow to play on Saturday.
Jeremiah, play the wing. Go to the wing.
12 on the shot clock, and I think the flag has been run up the pole.
Absolutely.
And until Reed starts a move, and Reed has just fouled out with a push. And I think he felt like he had the ball taken away. He got pushed, and then he ran into Baines, who was coming along, and he pushed. And so Rod Reed will foul out with 19 seconds left to go in this one.
I'm not sure if there was a foul on the initial reach, but I think there was a foul after the ball had been taken as he barreled in to a Pioneer, and give Kevin Baulo credit, who was right on top of that play to make that call.
Actually, the official time, 20.5 seconds.
Checking in for Arlington, number 5, Josh Penny.
This Ozark team coming up really interesting, Rob. You look at some of their numbers preparing today. Plus 10 in rebounding margin, number 1 in the country. 51% shooting as a team, number 1 in the country. They've got arguably the most dominant post player. Excited to see this next one with them in North Central.
Free throw is good by Micah Baines, 23 for him. It will just make it close. He has 24. They'll continue to pressure, but as Josh Green gets it into the front court, they'll run out the clock. The shot clock is dark. Green will pick up the ball, maintain his pivot foot, and not travel with it. And he'll hold on and run out the clock. And our final is Arlington Baptist 84 and the number 2 seed from Northland International 71. So that's our first final, 84-71. And Arlington in the Final Four. They will play either Ozark or North Central University. And those two teams will tip off in about 20 minutes right here at the Forrest Arnold Activity Center. And then, of course, on the other side tonight, Manhattan and Ohio Christian and Florida Christian College and Trinity Baptist. And our post-game word of prayer.